Today, we're going to explore a connection you might not expect, a poem that's about 3,000 years old, and the very modern, very real experience of living with ALS. We're going to see how an ancient cry of suffering can actually become this incredible source of companionship for anyone on that kind of difficult journey.
You know, this quote just nails what we're talking about today. Psalm 6. It isn't polished, it's not polite, it is raw, it's honest, and it is painfully, deeply real.
And that's exactly why it speaks so powerfully to the experience of ALS. This isn't about finding some easy answer or quick fix. It's about something much more lasting. Finding a voice, finding a real companion, right in the middle of one of life's toughest roads. So let's dive into our first section, which is all about how this psalm gives us a language for suffering. And it doesn't start with some big declaration of faith. No, it starts with a cry that feels like it's been ripped right out of someone's heart.
Just think about that opening line for a second. It's so direct, filled with this raw fear. It basically voices the question that so many people ask when they get a devastating diagnosis. Why is this happening to me?
What's so powerful here is that the psalm gives a huge validation to that very human search for meaning. It asks, did I do something to deserve this? It gives you permission to say your deepest fears out loud without any judgment. And this is so crucial for both patients and caregivers. It shows that all these messy, difficult emotions, they aren't a sign that your faith is failing. They're actually part of it.
Okay, so let's see how this builds. Because the psalm doesn't just stay in the world of abstract ideas, it gets incredibly specific about the physical side of being sick, which is obviously so central to the experience of ALS.
I am languishing. My bones are troubled. I mean, listen to that language. It's so physical, so grounded. It's the feeling of your own body crying out, of systems you've always trusted just not working anymore.
This is exactly what we mean when we talk about embodied suffering. It's this deep recognition that you just can't separate your spirit from your body. And for a disease like ALS, where the whole experience is so intensely physical, losing muscle control, changes in your voice, trouble breathing, having that validated is just profoundly affirming. And this, right here, this is the crucial point. The psalm doesn't try to explain away the pain or wrap it up in a neat little spiritual lesson. It just looks right at the physical struggle and says, this is real, this matters, I see you.
Now, right here, the psalm takes a really interesting turn. The focus shifts a little bit, away from the immediate physical pain and toward the absolute torment of uncertainty, something that really hangs over the journey with ALS.
My soul is greatly troubled. And then, that question. The one that echoes in waiting rooms and in the middle of the night. How long?
This single question defines so much of the ALS experience, and what makes it so hard to live with is that there is no neat answer.
Because it's not just one question, is it? It's a whole cascade of questions that families living with ALS have to face every single day. That uncertainty can be one of the absolute hardest parts of the disease, leaving you in this constant state of waiting and adapting.
And again, what's so incredible here is that the psalm doesn't offer some simple solution. Its power is in its honesty. It just creates this sacred space where it's okay to ask how long, and to just sit in the silence that comes after, knowing that the question itself is valid.
So, after that raw, unresolved question, the narrative shifts again. It starts to move toward an appeal, but it's one that's based on a totally different idea of what hope looks like.
Now, pay attention to the reason given here. It's not, save me because I'm a good person or because I'm strong enough. It's, save me for the sake of your steadfast love. It completely reframes the whole situation. It's not about what you've earned. It's about something that's constant and unconditional.
And this slide really breaks down that shift. Conventional hope, right? It's often about a cure, about getting back what you've lost. But when that's just not on the table, hope has to change. This steadfast love hope, it isn't about being cured. It's about being connected. It's about comfort and finding meaningful moments and that deep feeling of being held even when things are falling apart.
And that is the key takeaway. This kind of hope doesn't magically make the pain go away, but what it does is insist. It insists that pain and loss do not get the final word. That connection and meaning and love can exist right alongside the suffering. All right, on to our final section. And this is where we get the psalm's absolute rawest expression of grief. And then, a resolution that is truly surprising.
I mean, that is just completely unfiltered sorrow. It speaks to that bone-deep exhaustion,
Those long nights, the relentless emotional weight that's so familiar to both patients and caregivers on the ALS journey. There's zero pretense here, just a brutally honest description of grief.
But after all of that vulnerability, all that weeping and weariness, the tone just dramatically shifts.
Suddenly, there's this strength, right? This assertiveness. And what's the reason for the change? It's not because the disease is gone. It's not because the body is healed. The reason is the Lord has heard the sound of my weeping. The big pivot isn't being fixed, it's being heard. So, that final confidence in the psalm, it comes from this internal shift. The circumstances outside haven't changed at all, but the perspective inside has. That awful feeling of being totally alone has been broken by the feeling of being seen and heard. Peace doesn't arrive when the problem is solved, it arrives when you know you aren't facing it alone. And this, right here, is the ultimate companionship the psalm offers. Right in the middle of weakness and uncertainty and incredible loss, it gives this quiet but steady promise. Even here, your voice matters, your experience is seen, and your cry, in all of its rawness and honesty, it does not go unanswered.